All right, recording is started, and this is the June 29th, 2023 Crossplane community meeting. We have a bit of a smaller group of folks today while a lot of people are on vacation and have some conflicts today, but we'll get everything done here that we can and while we can. And folks can catch up on the recording later on as well. So I will drop into the Zoom chat right now a direct link to the agenda doc, so folks can jump in there and they can get into the doc and add any suggestions that they may want for topics they wanted to discuss. We don't have any huge topics today, so I think that there will be time if folks wanted to add extra things, so feel free to add things into the agenda. All right, so we don't have any recent upstream Crossplane releases since the last community meeting. I think the last patch releases we did were right before the last community meeting. So nothing to mention there, but we are getting quite close now to the next release of Crossplane, so the 1.13 release. So we have, I think it's on like late July, we were targeting around the 25th or so. So we've got about 4 weeks left, and that means about 2 weeks are left until we get into our feature freeze and then our code freeze. So let's just look at the calendar real quick together to make sure that we've got all that there. Right, so we are here today. So yeah, so we've got just under 2 weeks until we get to feature freeze, and then which is 2 weeks before the approximate release date. And then we've got code freeze 1 week after that, where we would stop taking bug fixes. We really want to stabilize, and then the release is the last week of July. So it's yeah, we're definitely cruising in on getting near there. So we want to unblock anybody who feels blocked on things. Maybe we could take care of some of that in this meeting here today. So let's take a look then at the release board and see if there's anything that we can help out with that. I took a little bit of a pass through some things that did not have traction or we're not going to be included in the release and cleaned it up. So we've mostly got a clean enough release board here. So let me see if there's anything we really wanted to call out. And I think a lot of these faces I'm seeing on this board are the folks that are on vacation, so it might be more challenging to do that. Philippe, though, there's a couple important things that you're driving here in 1.13. So both the composition validation further work. Can you give us a quick update on what would be included in 1.13? And then we'll talk about the security audit as well.
Yeah, we kind of agreed not to promote to beta because it's actually, we continued evolving the schema-aware validation in the meantime after the release of 1.12, and there is still stuff features that were not backported to because they're features and not fixes, so they are not in any user available release. So we decided to postpone promoting to a later stage so that we can have at least in 1.13 all the features widely available, have people test it, find bugs, and then we can proceed with the next phase there.
So is there any outstanding code work then that would be left for 1.13, or we could move this along to?
It's the things we want to have shipped in 1.13 are there.
Nice.
There is still work to be done, but it's going to be for 1.14 or later. So nothing at the moment. So it's actually kind of in progress, but because it's a wider scope, it's not specifically for 1.14.
Right. Okay, great. So yeah, let's get the board cleaned up on that then after this meeting here, and then let's talk about the security audit as well, because that is winding down, and we're working on a number of fixes for issues found, and we're working towards getting the report out and stuff like that. So give us a quick update on where you are with that and what's left for 1.13.
Yeah, so AdaLogic, the company who was in charge of the security audit, closed the audit part. So they shared all findings, which were nothing too worrisome, let's say. We are still trying to triage a few issues, and we are targeting the release of 1.13 to publish the report, and if any CVE or any fix for the issues found.
Perfect. And is there anything else that you need right now to like get yourself unblocked on any of that, or are you largely able to continue executing?
Mainly feedbacks from maintainers on a few issues found, just to have a feedback with a little bit more context than the one I have on a few parts of the code base. But other than that, we are good to go. And then the blog post, which you're going to write probably.
Yep, no problem with that at all. Okay, that is good then. That sounds good to me. I was definitely curious about if there had been progress on the work that I think that Hassan had an outstanding PR on, kind of a step towards making upgrade process for packages, providers, configurations, whatever, across different versions to be a little bit more reliable, and taking the resources from the previous version and transitioning their ownership to the new version, making that more smooth. But I know Hassan's not here today, but I don't know if anyone has a latest update on that I might not have already heard of. Is this Dan? Does Dan have a new picture? Okay, cool. That's fascinating. Nice, good to see that. So I'll follow up with Hassan then and see if that is still something that's in scope for 1.13, because I know progress on that would certainly be helpful. Okay, is there anything that's not on the board here that folks wanted to make sure it gets tracked or gets added to 1.13 as we're winding down?
Maybe the issue in design that is assigned to me, there was some discussion on that, and actually the implementation is pretty straightforward. There was some discussion on the API design and stuff. So if we could push that and take a decision on that, it would be awesome.
So basically there's still kind of an outstanding decision that has not been made on the final API for it.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you who's been participating in that you need to look at?
I think Nick gave his feedback, and also Azan gave his feedback, but there is also a member of the community who is willing to work on that. So I was helping out, trying to steer a little bit the conversation on the design, but yeah, a member of the community will be willing to do that.
Was the feedback for the design aligned, or was there still any conflicts to resolve in that?
It was kind of yes, but no. So yes, but we should find a broader solution to the whole class of problems. So mixed feelings.
So that if that's where it's leaning, then that sounds like something that is likely not to make 1.13 if there's a broader solution that we want to have for this class of problems.
Might be, but I would lean toward the saying we could implement that and think about a wider solution in the meantime. But I agree, it could be solved, but it's actually a problem many operators have, and it's not easy to solve. So I don't know if it's worth blocking the functionality.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, let's try to get a follow-up then with Hassan or Nick to make a decision on that one, and then if there's something that can be moved forward still in this time frame, that would be good. But yeah, let's see if we can get a finalized decision on that. Okay, so let's go ahead then and look back at the roadmap then. So in terms of end-to-end integration testing, Nick did a big push on that to kind of get the framework in place, the patterns in place, and all of the parity with the previous integration tests there. So that is all merged in available in main branch now. Is that correct? If my memory serves me correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Cool. Excellent. So then is there any other end-to-end integration testing stuff that needs to be done for 1.13, or the patterns and practices and examples in place is that's great. And then we have some backlog to start implementing scenarios of end-to-end coverage and get that coverage. But like otherwise though, everything's in place for having end-to-end tests and running and you know, giving us some assurance against regressions on PRs and stuff.
Yeah, we are discussing some change to the pattern we are adopting, but other than that, the end-to-end tests and the feedback we get from the end-to-end test is not going to change much from for 1.13.
Okay, good. And then the other thing I was curious about is I know Lovro has been working on you know, the granular management policies and adding, you know, essentially the ability to ignore changes. I think I saw a PR this morning that was opened on, you know, we've got some of the patterns in place now for the types and everything, the shape of the APIs to support that in Crossplane runtime, and then a PR is now open, I think, on you know, like Upjet code generation to do that in other providers as well. Is that correct of what other folks have noticed as well, or I didn't look too deeply into it? And I don't think Lovro is on the call today either. But if not, okay, then I think that's at least what I saw. So that looks to me then, because I know Lovro has been focusing on it and got a lot of the core pieces in place there. So at least to me, I think that that is on track, and that looks like that would be, you know, included in 1.13 essentially. So those items then in the high level roadmap for 1.13 look good. I think something to note here is that, so for observe only resources, you know, promoting this to beta, that's something that, you know, with the more granular management policies, you know, that gives new abilities of how to do observe only resources, how to do ignore changes, things like that. You know, we're essentially evolving the API for observe only resources that was introduced in 1.12. And so since we're continuing to evolve that API to cover this new scenario as well, then we do want to have another release of bake time and stabilization for the you know, management policies API that enables observe only resources. And so we'll be planning on bringing that to beta more in the 1.14 timeframe and not in the 1.13 timeframe while we continue to evolve the API. So that's important to note here. All right. So yeah, so, you know, once again, we've only got, you know, a couple of weeks for, or less than 2 weeks for feature freeze, less than 3 weeks for code freeze, and then about 4 weeks or so for the release. Anything else that folks wanted to bring up for 1.13 before we move on? All right, so let's talk about recent releases for providers then. So there's 2 releases. Oh, am I typing in that accidentally? Sorry if I am. There we go. So we've got 2 releases here for the community provider AWS here. So I don't think Max is on the call, but you know, maybe if Christopher or Manabu or somebody wants to give us a high-level overview of any of the important changes in these 2 releases.
I helped a little bit Max to get his first release running in this provider. So, nice. But in general, I don't know if there's something really to highlight. So there's one new option for web identity token file path for environments, which is inside now. So another option that you can override the identity token file path. Yeah, and the rest is what was from the community as pull request open, and we worked on it and merged it.
Awesome. It looks like a few new contributors for this release as well. So congratulations to all those folks that got their first contribution to this repo and was included in the release. And then it looks like a fast follow with a patch release as well to fix a bug that was caught in the with the IAM support.
there was an issue, and we fixed this and cut the release for it because the policies was not working anymore.
Nice. Okay. Good. Good to get a patch out for that quickly. All right. And so then also there's a few new releases from this week that I think Jean was driving those releases, and at least I saw his name pop up and like release notes and issues closed and stuff like that. So I think Jean was driving those releases. So all the big three cloud providers for Upbound's official providers there have fresh new versions to check out as well. And then Christopher, I know you contributed or have a brand new provider as well for Cast AI out as well. Do you want to tell us a bit about that scenario, what it's covering and stuff too?
Yeah, with Cast AI, you can optimize your nodes you're using, for example, in EKS with their engine, and you can configure connecting your clusters in a read-only mode or in a full access mode. And then Cast AI will cover your full auto-scaling mechanism. You can enable a few roles, like you want to very cost efficiency running, or other options is available for scheduling the pods. And yeah, in our company, we tried a little bit with it, and we switched all of our development clusters to Cast AI, and it looks very great. So from the cost perspective, you can save a lot of money if you're using this autoscaler. I also added, I guess, in my private Git repository platform reference implementation with compositions that you can enable it completely.
Oh, nice. I heard about that, but I hadn't seen it yet, Christopher. Do you want to drop a link to that here in the agenda document also, so people have that right in context with it? Sweet, dude. Nice. Good job. Awesome, man. All right. So let's go ahead and move to the community topics section here also. So a couple cool pieces of content that are available now. So last night, Nick and I did a podcast / live stream recording with the lovely folks over at Floss Weekly. So that they released that the same day. So you can go here and check out that. It's about an hour conversation with me and Nick and the two hosts there, Doc and Jonathan. And so it's definitely, we covered a lot of ground there. It's definitely some introductory material as well. But so a lot of cool opinions that were shared there. It was a good experience, and there's multiple options to download that. You can watch the video, you can download like the podcast to your podcast player or Spotify or whatever. So I think that was a cool conversation, and I would recommend checking that out. We also have well, I guess we'll talk about this a little bit more, but there's a new frequently asked questions blog series that we started, and the first one is available here at this link. Christopher, I think you were involved as an interviewee in this particular article here about with a nice headline of banks dumping Terraform for Crossplane. Yes. So it seems like that was a fun experience there to get interviewed and be included in that one too, dude. There's also another cool article we found recently about somebody making a assertion about only needing Kubernetes in terms of being able to deploy your software and your infrastructure, et cetera. And it does mention Crossplane being a component of that at the end. So couple cool things to check out and get involved with. And then Pete, I think maybe you added these docs updates here as well for new content. Do you want to talk about these too?
Yeah, so I'm working through a pretty comprehensive rewrite of our concept section to really dive into the various knobs, defaults, options, configurations, and also kind of compartmentalize our docs a little bit more instead of having more kind of one big thing describing everything. So we've got the first three done, pods, providers, and MRs. I'm currently in the process of taking apart the composite resources page. And that's going to be a real big one because I think it's we're taking that one page and turning it into 7, I think, in total. So for that, I would say, I would love some feedback in PR 475 on the existing composition stock and, the additional pages that'll start coming out of there. But I just wanted to draw some attention that, we're restructuring some of that. I think we're moving in the right direction on quality, and hopefully we can keep going. Yeah, and as Jared's looking at that PR, a lot of the other ones are just placeholders, but you can see that concept section is going to grow substantially as we start to parcel those out. And I think one of the big side effects of this is I think search is going to get a lot better. It's still not going to be great, but it's going to be a step in the right direction.
Very cool, Pete. And, you know, I definitely, we were talking about this just last night together. So I had a bit of a cheat there in terms of already looking at those. But yeah, I think that the further investments that we make in, you know, having useful, helpful content to, you know, answer people's questions about Crossplane or help to get them unstuck, et cetera, and then finding it, making it more discoverable so people can access and find the information they're looking for as well, is definitely a step in the right direction. So thanks for that, the effort on that one. And so are you looking for broad feedback on 475, Pete, or is it you know, kind of like what we talked about of like, hey, look at the structure now, does like the topics and high level concepts that we're surfacing make sense, or is it more than that you want now?
Mainly that. I would just say read the composition doc. Let me know what you think. You know, we're looking both for factual errors, but also does it make sense? Is there something missing? Do you have, you know, if you're left with question, then that probably means I have more work to do.
Awesome. Sounds good. And thanks for the continued effort on that, Pete. Let's see here. So, you know, I'll take a pass to that as well, to make sure that at least the structure is looking good there, and we can keep working on that. So that's all the content stuff that we had. If anybody else has any blog posts, videos, etc., about Crossplane they've seen recently or made recently, feel free to drop it in here as a suggestion, and we'll make sure that we make some noise about that too. I think we talked about this last week, but I just wanted to have one more reminder about the special interest groups that we've started up. So essentially for all the big feature areas within the project, we have started up special interest groups for each of them. They all have their own channels that you can subscribe to, that you can participate in the conversation, and they've got regular meetings as well to make progress in those areas. So this will give more opportunities for folks to participate and contribute and collaborate around areas of interest to them, especially if it's a feature that you're highly depending on and you're building your platform around. So please do check those out and get involved with those if you want to be participating in them. All right, and then a piece of news here that I don't think, oh, Carlos, you have a question?
Yeah, the special interest groups are kind of official or documented or listed anywhere outside Slack and this talk?
They're just in the community calendar at the moment. They're pretty lightweight. We effectively wanted to create a forcing function to review our designs a little bit more. So are you still there, Carlos? It looks like you've frozen.
No, I'm here. I think I'm frozen, but I'm here.
Cool.
Camera problems, no problem.
So not really, basically. You can find them in the Crossplane community meeting. You can find them in this doc. I think there's maybe, to your point, there is more to do to make them discoverable, but we didn't want to you know, go all the way towards like Kubernetes style SIGs with like, you know, a pretty heavyweight SIG process sort of thing. We just wanted to sort of kick off some meetings to get started.
Yeah, my 2 cents is I was trying to like parse the request on this bullet. Like you're asking folks to join or make them aware, or it will be good to have more people in them, or there are like ephemeral things. That's the sentiment I was trying to get to. And again, yeah. I agree with you. They don't, to create a SIG in Crossplane, right, as a CNCF project, you have the autonomy of deciding to put a GitHub page with a table and say like, these are very lightweight, like you said, very lightweight. They're in the calendar meeting link, and here's the Slack link and the 1-sentence description, and that's it. No share, no word. Like that way you have a link to give to someone, say, hey, you're interested in Crossplane. Hey, you want to contribute. If there's in a particular area, here's a link to a GitHub issue markdown file that has the table with the SIGs, and just join one of the Slacks, right? That's what I was asking for.
Yeah, I think we're
And I can open the issue and I can also put it in the docs or a GitHub issue. Like I'm not asking
Yeah.
because I'm not asking for people to do work. I'm asking because if this is if it's a good idea, not a good idea, not important.
Yeah, well, let me try and walk through what we were doing with this. I think one thing was we had identified that there was not a great regular forum to talk about in-flight designs. So as you can kind of see by the list of channels there, most of these correspond to like a big feature that someone's working on or groups of people are working on at the moment. So we have this meeting, but it's really hard to use this 1 hour to get any like depth of discussion on these things. And there's, we might get really deep on, let's say, each testing it, maybe 70% of the people on this like don't care or I don't have too much to add there, right? So I think we're still learning. Some of these might be ephemeral, like some of these might just go away as soon as after the design gets merged. Some of them, like the testing and things like that, probably will stick around, I think, as longer term things. Today, we've put them in the calendar. We barely have agenda docs for them. We don't have them like listed on GitHub, etc. If anyone feels motivated to help with that, I would very much value it. I think the reality is a lot of these are owned by Hassan and I at the moment. I don't think we have like the bandwidth to go and be, doing all the hygiene of setting them up and creating Git repos for them and agendas and all that kind of stuff.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking a simple 10 lines markdown file that say, hey, Crossplane has SIGs and they have do they meet? I didn't even know you guys meet. You guys meet? I thought it was only Slack. Like, so I'm an example. Like, I didn't know you guys meet. Oh, and talk. I thought everything was in Slack. So that's
we don't even necessarily we don't meet for all of these yet. We've only met for a couple of them.
Yeah, that's okay.
I think maybe a minimum, like here's some things I'd like to avoid. I don't want people to have to go and like open up a PR and go through a process to create a new SIG. But I do agree that they should be discoverable. So I think with the place that we can discover when the meetings happen, I think, and maybe the place that we discovered today when the meetings happen is the Crossplane community calendar. There is just one calendar, a Google Calendar. It is linked from the Crossplane README at the moment, but it's not linked in a way that makes it obvious that that's where you would find the SIG meetings. So I think maybe we can update the Crossplane README to be like, hey, there are SIGs, you can find them.
Well, we don't even have to call them SIGs, right? That's the other thing. We can name it something else. Like here's our working groups that get together and we can even put parentheses like ephemeral or like whatever you want, to avoid us. That's okay. But I'm not asking for a formal process, not asking for PRs, not asking for a formal. So yeah, let's table that. I think we're taking a lot of time, but yeah, that's the sentiment I want to get.
Yeah, and the discoverability. Yeah, the discoverability aspect makes a ton of sense to me as well, Carlos. So if you wanted to open up a PR just to update the README here to kind of point to mention that these groups exist and mention that they're on the calendar or something small like that, totally reasonable to do that.
Yeah, and the Slack on just the Slack channel. Hey, you want to go to Slack and alert, right, and learn what these people are talking about, right?
Cool, that sounds good. Yeah, thanks for that feedback, Carlos. I think that makes a lot of sense to help make it more. Improving the discoverability of a lot of things in the community is always a bonus to help people know what's there and what's available. So great, that's great stuff.
Not a problem.
All right. So yeah, cool. Then the next thing on here is that we have a new maintainer on Core Crossplane. So Bob, thank you very much for all your contributions that you've made. All the input on designs and architecture and features that you've taken and all that sort of stuff. So with you joining the maintainer team for Core Crossplane, I only expect to see more of that. I don't expect to see that go down. So congratulations and thanks a lot for all your work, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm very humbled and very appreciative of all the help I've gotten from everybody on getting up to speed. Fantastic.
All right. So next topic here is around the release dates for Core Crossplane. So Nick and I had a chat about this, and in practice, we don't really intend to change too much here. We're doing quarterly releases. They're at around the end of the month each time. But we were very hardcore about the specific date, 9 months into the future that something would be released, right? And I don't think that that's really helps the project significantly. I think that kind of, it's we don't need that much of a forcing function. So I think that we intend to release at the same cadence, pretty much the exact same thing actually, but not having, hey, that's going to be on the 25th, on the morning of the 25th exactly, and that's what you should expect. I think it's, hey, it's going to be that last week of the month there, and we have a little bit more room with our code freeze, our feature freeze, and so the variance here is going to be small, but I did want to call out that, you know, it's not going to, we're not going to say the exact date multiple months in the future, but in practice, not, you know, the cadence of releases here is not really going to change much. So do let me know if there's any questions on that. Yeah, I don't expect too much actual practical changes. The next thing I wanted to mention to folks is that, you know, we have had issues over the last few months with the invitation page we use for inviting people or having a self-service experience for people to join our Crossplane Slack. So we have a kind of a stopgap solution in place there that essentially kind of redirects you to an invite link, and Slack, whatever the reason is, they do not allow those invitation links to be infinite or never expire. They won't expire in time, but they will expire with the number of invitations. So every 400 people that join the Slack, the invite dies and the link is broken, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's not a great experience for people that want to join. So I spent a little bit of time recently and got a test site up that is essentially a replacement for it. That's kind of a fully automated page that, you know, doesn't expire with invite links and does some interesting stuff using the Slack and Extended project. So this is an ask for people to go ahead and try out this link here, the slack-extended.crossplane.io. Let me know if you run into any issues with it, if you have any errors or anything doesn't work. You know, if you want to try to register to join the Slack with it and give me any feedback there. If we don't have any issues with this does look like a wonderful long-term solution to our Slack invitation problem, and a fairly cost-efficient in terms of engineering time, because it's not that hard. It was not that hard to put together, but this looks like a great solution. So I would then, you know, if it looks all good, then I would do some, you know, DNS updates so that slack.crossplane.io then points to this page instead, and the registration process follows this flow instead. So if anybody wants to give that a click, try it out. Let me know if there's any problems with it.
Jared, just to Carlos's point that he's putting in the Slack bar at the moment, I think I linked this community inviter thing that Kubernetes used. I don't feel strongly if the thing that you've already done works well, we should use that. But was curious whether you looked at these and decided not to use them or just weren't aware of them.
Yeah, the not deeply, no, but this project here has been around for quite a while as well. It's just kind of an extension of the one we were using for 5 years. So this is very much like, hey, it's the same environment variables you pass to it. It's the same configuration file. It's like the lowest lift possible to get something up and running that has a surface area that we're familiar with already and has been, you know, in place for more than 4 years, maybe almost 5 years. So that was really my thinking, is that, you know, other projects use it as well, like Calico and the Rook project as well. So other projects are using it within the ecosystem as well, and it's very similar to what we were already using. So it's lowest lift is what was guiding me here.
Got it. Makes sense.
All right. So then I wanted to make a call out here that I believe there will be more speaking opportunities in the near future for folks to talk about Crossplane. You know, especially if you had a talk that you're excited about for KubeCon, if it doesn't get accepted, et cetera. I think that I want to get more opportunities for folks to be out there and speaking and presenting and sharing their success stories, sharing, you know, how their platform works, all that sort of stuff. So just kind of nothing to show here right now, but just kind of wanted to start greasing the wheels a little bit and get the wheels turning in people's minds around, you know, what you might want to talk about for Crossplane. And if you want to brainstorm or chat about that, I'm happy to spend time on that. But start thinking about things that you might want to share in Crossplane, and we'll try to find opportunities together for that in the future too. Yes, Carlos.
I'll put the link. I'm working on a co-located event for KubeCon called We didn't have App Developer Con. It's the first time we're doing a co-located event, developer focus.
Oh, cool.
So if people, I'm brainstorming like ideas of Like I work on all I work is DevOps, and then we say we work for developers to give them a good experience and empathy and all that. So this conference is more focused on like giving the point of view of the developer, me as a developer, how do I use all these tools? Like, why do I care about Crossplane? Or why do I care? Or why should I care? But you use them, right, to make those organizations. So if you have ideas if Crossplane is applicable or not applicable, or it could be part of a story you want to tell a developer about their experience that can be improved with Cloud Native, yeah, ping me or submit a talk to app developer, and I want to get good content there. And it could be from using programming languages to drive Crossplane APIs or be on top of Crossplane, and anything is valid, right? As long as it's a developer focused type of individual, not a DevOps Kubernetes expert. If that makes sense.
That sounds pretty cool, Carlos. So that's in the process now. Is that going to be at the KubeCon North America, Chicago?
Yeah, CFP is open for Chicago.
Oh, sweet. Say if you want to drop a link to the CFP there, that sounds definitely interesting. And probably could have some cool overlap with what folks are doing in this community and space, and then some lessons as well we could all learn from that too. So that sounds pretty cool.
Yep, no problem.
Yep. Cool. All right, so then wanted to call attention, as I mentioned really quickly earlier, that we've got a new blog series that is out or just started about frequently asked questions that we have in Crossplane. And so a goal of this series here is that we will address common questions that come up and things that people find challenging in Crossplane, and get like an article about it and have some content there that helps people address these things, but then also to take that content and put it back into the docs so that or bug fixes that will make it easier or whatever. So get ideas from people, write about them, make it easier to approach those problems, but then get it back into the source as well to kind of continue getting iterate and progress on making things better overall. So it's kind of a call out to this group here of any ideas that folks have about common questions they run into, questions they hear in Slack all the time, etc. Would love to hear about them so that we can get those on the schedule for things that for the content series here. And if anybody wants to be an author on that blog post series too, I'm happy to collaborate and help facilitate you write for people to write articles to be part of this series as well.
I'm interested.
Cool.
I get too many frequently asked questions.
Yeah, and then if you want to, Carlos, you can add some of those to the agenda doc here, or like on the, I think we're kind of collecting crowdsourcing ideas in the documentation channel on the Crossplane Slack. Yeah, okay. So if you want to throw ideas in there, Carlos, please do, and then we can figure out, hey, which ones do you want to write about, which ones can I write about, and that sounds like a really good idea. Cool. Okay, and then we had a PR here that was linked in the backlog, but I think this PR has since been merged, perhaps. So Yuri, was this you? Did you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so it's actually a part of the latest private readability release official. So what is special about this PR is that we were hesitating to implement it to the point that it was actually closed, the first iteration of it, but then community requested that we really need this implementation. And so I updated it and get to the well-tested scenario. So what is special is that this Route 53 Zone Association, it is like a kind of special thing that touches a cross-account scenario. So Route 53 in one account and a private Route 53 zone, and VPC in another account. So this association is capable to create this connection. And there is a additional thing that is called, I think, VPC zone authorization that enables this cross-account access, right, by instantiating this MR. So that's kind of special situation. And additional usefulness out of this PR apart from like it was actively requested by community, is that like we can, so there is a case of cross-account testing by app test, right? So there is already a setup of provider configs. If you open example, Jared, in this PR,
like on the files change tab, or
yeah, and examples that is like not examples generated, but just examples folder for zone association.
This one here.
Yep, and if you can, yeah, thank you. You can see like there is like a provider config ref peer. So there is
Here.
yeah. So that's how provider AWS test setup test script handles it. So it pre-creates. You can find it in the repository if interested. It creates two provider configs that are actually configured to different AWS accounts, right? And pointing to this default and a special peer, you can create actual cross-account end-to-end test cases, right? So that was very useful for this specific scenario. So we can deterministically prove that this cross-account zone association actually works. So that was interesting experience. And special kudos to Chris for validating it is SPR in non-synthetic environment, but the real Crossplane one in his organization. So that's it. Yeah, and again, it's already part of the release, so it's available for usage.
Awesome, Yuri. Yeah, thanks for sharing that update there. That's about and giving us the background about what this solves, why it's important, and then also that driving it to get it included and merged, and then part of the latest release as well. So that's awesome, and thanks Carlos and Chris as well for validating. This is used in enterprises and big companies, and the real world usage of this. Amazing. All right. So that's everything that was on the agenda. Does anybody have something else they want to add to the agenda here before we wrap up? All right. Sweet. If that is everything, then folks, then we can go ahead and wrap up for the week. And great to see everybody here today. And once again, congratulations to Bob. And looking forward to everyone's contributions as we're working towards the 1.13 release in less than a month. All right. Thanks everybody. Take care.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Bye.
Here.